Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world. It is once again time for the WADcast, episode number 103. This is one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Brandon with a Y, but not where you think it is.
Yeah. I'm not dancing. It's Brandon with two N's and a Y, but not where you think.
I knew I was going to screw that up. But anyway, Madison, love Madison. Anyway, welcome to the show, the Writer, Actors, Directors Podcast, where we talk about all things writers, actors, directors. It is that time. It's Friday night, and here we are, ready to rock and roll. Yep. Give you our thoughts and opinions on stuff.
Whether you ask for it or not.
Yeah. You don't have a choice in the matter.
Yeah. We were and you and I, we've been talking a lot lately about we've actually had this conversation numerous times over the years of people saying something is just lazy writing. Now, I say it myself, but when I say it's lazy writing, it is legit lazy writing.
Yeah.
It's a safe space that the studios or the screenwriter finds comfortable. Like M. Night Shyamalan, I look at everything he puts out as just lazy because it's all derivative. Mm-hmm. There's always a twist in it somewhere. It's like the same formula over and over again because that's what he knows. Instead of actually just, and we saw the results of the one time he wrote something that was outside the norm or directed something outside the norm, which was The Last Airbender.
I didn't see it.
Oh God, it was so bad. It was so bad. But you have other things like where characters are just barely getting away with something, or if it's if you get introduced to a character and you don't know who this character is, the character themselves is going to tell you, or like some other character is going to tell you, and we're going to hear a whole exposition about that character, so we know who that character is, as opposed to us learning through the character's actions. Good example. A good example of introducing a character would be Jurassic Park. Dr. Alan Grant. You know off the bat he doesn't like kids.
Yes.
Like he doesn't really care for kids. He doesn't flat out say, I don't like kids. But you know through his interaction with the kid and comparing the giant turkey to raptor and all that stuff and very graphically telling the kid how he would die in a raptor attack. And you find this out about him, and the character growth is that he falls in love with the two kids who he is protecting throughout the movie.
You know what else it didn't have, Jurassic Park?
Huh.
It didn't have a character whose one line is, and he doesn't like kids.
Oh, I know.
That's an absolute pet peeve of mine. Characters whose sole existence is to, do an exposition dump.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, dude. And it's tiresome when you see that. I know a few people that praised the most recent Resident Evil movie, Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. It was so stuffed full of bad writing. And not just like the writing. I'm not talking about how the characters like Leon was not the badass he was in the series. Leon is more of an imbecile in that movie than he is an actual capable survivor. But you have Jill Valentine. That Claire Redfield. That's what it is, Claire Redfield. That just for whatever reason, when the characters are introducing themselves to each other, they have to say their first and last name. Okay. Oh, hi. I'm Claire Redfield. Oh, okay. Hi, Claire Redfield. I'm Jill Valentine. Oh, that's who these characters are. We don't really get any introduction to them beyond that. So it's so how we meet them is them telling us who they are. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like anger management with Jack Nicholson. I just want to know. I just want you to tell us who you are. And you can tell us who you are without telling us, everything about you. This isn't a dating website. It's a damn movie.
It does feel like that sometimes, doesn't it?
Kind of oh yeah, my name is such and such. I'm from here. These are my hobbies. I don't give a shit. I want to see you kick some ass now. The original Resident Evil movie with Mila Jovovich, that was a great way to start the character and introduce the character because the character didn't know who she was. We found out with the character who she was. And
Yes.
when when the what was it? Well, like when the corporation when they came in, when Umbrella came in to take over everything and try to find survivors, they didn't tell us everything about who they were. We saw through their personalities who they were. Michelle Rodriguez is always going to be Michelle Rodriguez. It doesn't matter. They might as well just name every character that she plays Michelle Rodriguez. She's going to kick some ass. She's going to have an attitude. She's going to be really good with throwing down stuff like that. But all these other characters, you kind of learned who they were. So it's such a lazy way to get a character out there. And as a very long-winded introduction into what this episode is going to be about, we have heard a lot of people say something is lazy writing when it is not, in fact, lazy writing. It might be bad writing, doesn't make it lazy.
Right.
So, by your definition, what would you say lazy writing is?
Should I just jump right into the fire here or give a softball first?
No, just jump right in. Balls deep. Go ahead.
Top Gun Maverick.
Still haven't watched it.
And don't get me wrong, I went to the movies, I watched it, I loved the hell out of it. But you're not going to tell me that just stealing the third act from Star Wars is not considered lazy writing.
You can spoil it, it's fine.
Okay, then I'm going to do it. Okay, the whole thing is that, Maverick's putting together this crew to go on this mission to destroy a facility in unnamed country. And I guess it's the number 5 highest grossing movie of all time. So if you haven't seen it now, you're probably in the minority. So the mission itself is to get this, fly through a canyon that is topped by anti-aircraft guns. And then they have to swoop into the facility zone and drop a couple of bombs on an exhaust port, essentially, and then fly away. That's exactly what it is. It is the Star Wars Death Star trench run.
Okay.
Literally, it is that. And
That's
like
funny.
I said, I loved it. It looked amazing. Cinematography was exquisite. Jets, real cool. Doesn't change the fact that it's basically a copy and paste. And let's change X-wing to F-14 or whatever.
Yeah,
that's what it. So yeah, jumping right into it. Come at me, bro. The name's @SkitComic on Twitter. Now, if you want
it's
the
like
softball, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What's the softball?
The softball, old. You want to talk about introducing characters?
Oh God,
What's your name? What do you do?
that's exactly what that was the entire time too. Oh, that's that famous football player. What's he doing here? Or a famous rapper. I forget what the hell it was. But oh, I'm a surgeon. Oh, he's got his what was it, like dementia runs in his family or something, or he was diagnosed with dementia. Like, come on. So we know this is all going to come back now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And then just for shock points. Just for shock points, we have those, and I guess like as the characters get older, their minds get more mature or something. I don't know what happens there, but with zero education, zero real world experience, just being on this beach and watching people die, they start thinking more critically, like the kids. Except for the one girl that for some reason stayed mentally childish. The one that gave birth and decided to try to climb and fell to her death. But you have the two that like
don't watch that movie.
Here's a spoiler: the movie sucked. But either way, so there's the scene where the boy and the girl, they step away from the family and they age 10 years, I guess. And then while he's with this other girl that he met on the beach like just hours earlier, they decide to have sex.
I have funny feeling in my pants.
Like that's pretty. It would have been more like interesting if that's what was said. It was so stupid. It was a way to push it into the next scene.
As that was going on, I thought, no, there's no way they're gonna, no.
Yep.
And then I was like, if they cut away at this point, and then they cut away, I was like, oh, son of a, they're doing it, aren't they? And then after like a couple minutes goes by and we don't hear anything from the kids, I'm like, no, they wouldn't.
And she comes out all preggers and everything else. Yep.
Yeah.
But then there's like the actual like, I don't know if it'd be called lazy writing or if it's just like an overly used trope. But now it works with things like, say, a supernatural situation for the most part. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for something that's a physical presence. But you have like the slasher genre. It's loaded with bad writing, loaded with lazy writing. Scream. I have very valid complaints about Scream. I've mentioned them numerous times to you. We've had conversations.
To be fair,
but the one thing that
like a drunken weekend.
Yeah, the first one was written over like a course of 2.5 to 3 days, and then the full synopsis and breakdowns for 2 potential sequels were written in that same weekend. But in each Scream movie, they knock out the killer. They knock him out, or one of the killers, which depends which one you're watching. But they knock out the person that's trying to kill them at that point in time.
They always come in pairs.
And they turn their back for a second. They turn back. It could be like a long ass hallway. It could be a long hallway for the length of an entire city block. They knock him out. They turn around, gone. I'm like, how? Usually it's just like I don't know, like a really clumsy ass teenager. Mm-hmm. How the hell would this teenager be able to like do that? Like at least in Scream 3, that he had like the ending happened like with all these secret halls and everything else, secret corridors that he would use to get around. Yeah. But all the other movies, Scream 2, I think it was, where she knocks the guy out. He gets knocked out. He's in the front while he's driving them in the cop car. That's what it was. He was driving them in the cop car and he gets knocked out because he gets in a wreck. They climb over his lap. And as they start walking away, they're like, Sid's like, well, no, I need to know who this is. You're already halfway down the block.
Could have found out when you were straddling him.
Yeah, seriously, it's like, you know, like V over P and everything else, like, and just like, okay. Oh my God, you're the film freaker. Oh my God, you're my ex-boyfriend's psychotic mom. Like something.
And you outnumber the guy at this point.
Yeah, like I mean, it's like, Crit, you could have pulled a Chucky. Just one of you take off your hoodie or your sweaters, or who cares at this point? Survival. Take your shirt off, just rock out your bra while he's in the front seat. Reach over him and strangle him. He's already asleep. He's already weakened from like a head injury. Just knock him out. But you had to build up the tension. You had to have these two women, one of which being experienced in this already, being very smart apparently, climbing over the killer. But every time they turn around before they want to get this killer's identity, the killer's gone. You know, how many times do you have to shoot these killers and not just shoot them in the damn head? Like there's always like the final move, like at some point at the end of this movie is like, oh, bam, you're not coming back on my move. Well, you could have done that like an hour ago. When you had the gun aimed at them, you decided to shoot them one time in the shoulder for some reason. But it's a way to advance the next story. But there's one example of, I don't think that they knew how to get out of the hole. So they just ignored the hole and just kind of stepped around it. Wonder Woman 84.
Duh.
The whole scene with her wishing for Steve to come back, and he comes back by possessing a random guy Wonder Woman hooking up with it. And this guy doesn't look like Steve to anyone else. This is the dude. Steve looks at himself in the mirror. He sees the guy. It's like a total like quantum leap kind of situation. Yeah. And so this whole time she's hooking up with him until she realizes that her wish is selfish and that Steve is gone.
Hurting somebody else too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, define hurting. I mean,
oh, come on. Let's face it.
It's rape. But still,
well, yeah. There's definitely a crime, but the guy is also not an Amazonian. So when he wakes up with certain bruises, he's going to be asking questions, and I think maybe pressing charges.
Yeah, it's like, I was like, so yeah, like he's got like a cracked pelvis and everything else. But but no, it's like so that it's never addressed. And I think was it Patty Jenkins? Was that the director for Wonder Woman 84? I believe she's even like popped off about that before, about how it's not rape. It was a beautiful moment. I'm like, well, was it?
It's like, yeah.
If that were a situation that you would see where, like, I hate hearing this on Facebook, but this is actually a legitimate comparison. If this was a roles reverse kind of situation, not a single person would think that it's a beautiful scene.
The person that owns that body did not give consent.
Yeah, like, I mean, I look at that as being like the Kilgrave and Jessica Jones situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Whereas it's like, what was it, like someone asked, like, I think he's asking Jessica Jones, like, every single time that I was in your, someone asked Jessica Jones, like, every time that you guys did your thing, do you consider that rape? And she says yes, because it was not consensual. In her mind, she was told what to do, and she had to, whatever, through the pheromones, wherever it was, but she knew what she was doing the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's like Wonder Woman 84, that right there to me is lazy and bad writing. Plus, I mean, there's not really like a bad guy in 84. There's really no antagonist at all. Everyone's just like actually has legitimate grievances about their lives.
Yeah, and I think the thing to remember is, even if we were to be a little pedantic and talk about, good guys and bad guys, the thing is, Diana, Wonder Woman, was doing the exact same damn thing that the quote unquote villains were, and using the magic to basically get what they want.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody was really on the same level as far as being a butthole.
Yeah, they were all like, I mean, pretty much everyone in the movie was a horrible person, if you want to look at it that way.
Mm-hmm. And I do.
The only one that was actually kind of like felt like, I guess, in the right to be scorned was Chitara, or Barbara, whatever her name was, in the like she was the only one that was like, she's kind of got a point.
But she did kind of lose her way to the one of power. And
oh yeah, I guess you're right.
I'd say the only person that is sort of a victim when it comes to being one of the main characters is Steve.
Oh yeah, no, he was absolutely a victim.
He's brought back. He doesn't know what's going on,
and he didn't even want to be there. Like, I mean, he was like, he's just like, this is wrong. Like, I'm dead. Like, this is not right at all. Like, just whatever. But then you have things like Stranger Things is loaded with bad writing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time, like, I mean, they're always just narrowly escaping. Always. They're just narrowly escaping.
The plot armor is thick for that core group.
It absolutely is. And there's, I tried rewatching. I forget which episode it was in the first season, where they're trying to catch up with someone. These are 4 kids on bicycles.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's in like a car speeding off, and somehow they take a shortcut and they catch up with him.
Because that's how shortcuts worked in the 80s.
Yeah, I'm looking at this thinking like, how many times have I seen in the movies where there's like, I'm trying to think, uh, like the good guy drives his car 6 miles to a spaceship or something like that, um, and like three, say, 12-year-old kids, they see him leave, they watch him leave, and they follow on their bicycles, and somehow everyone arrives at this spaceship at the same time.
I don't know exactly what you're referencing, but
Yeah, it's just
that's just an
like
example.
it just as an example. Like I mean, because I remember like we've all been little kids riding around neighborhoods on bicycles. Uh, Driving like a mile would still take us a while because we're little 12-year-old kids.
Yeah.
It still feels like it's still like a 15-minute trip. Like depending. Like I mean, or if it's like 2 miles away, it's like it's still like a 15-minute trip for us on bicycle.
Hmm.
These movies like it's 4 miles away. Oh, I'm getting on my car now, walking towards my spaceship. You hear like a skidding sound, hear like a rustling leaf sound or something like that. Turn around. Here's these 12-year-old kids staring at you. They just caught up to you. You left half a friggin' hour ago, and they just left like 15 minutes ago.
I will use your example and cite you Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh yeah, okay.
Sees
The last
parent
scene.
at the stop sign. He
Oh
has
yeah,
to race home. He's on foot. They're driving on the street, and not only are they driving, but if I remember it, his sister's driving, and she's like, "Oh, busted now!" And she hits the gas and is
oh yeah,
driving
she's
like a
speeding.
maniac. And
Yeah,
he has to like jump over pools and hop fences and gates and
yep. And he still
still.
manages not just to beat them home, but to get upstairs and tuck himself in and beat his sister to all this.
Mhm.
Like the whole like I mean it's a good movie. It's a classic movie, but it's like one of those deals where like yeah, come on, man. Like
I think one of the
it's
points that is really going to shine through during the show tonight is, you know, lazy writing doesn't also, it's not necessarily the same or equal to bad writing or even, you know, a bad thing.
yeah,
Because sometimes you can use what are considered lazy things, tropes, mechanics, whatever you want to call it, and make a really good story. I'll tell you what, one thing in particular is widely considered like really lazy, and that's of course Deus Ex Machina, right?
yeah,
Where like literally the gods come down and give you the answer to all of your problems. And other than the classic Greek tales where this comes from, I can think of a modern take of this that did it so surprisingly well, and no one's going to be surprised when I say it, and that's Dogma.
oh
Where
yeah,
God comes down and solves everybody's problems. But the thing is, with Dogma, it was that's part of the plot that
yeah,
they're looking for God to solve the problem, and that's what happens. But there are so many other times where they take basically the same idea of, and here's the answer, that comes from nowhere. It's almost like, back in the day, westerns, all hope is lost, the heroes are going to die, and then suddenly here comes the cavalry.
yeah. That's it though. It's like I mean, and well, even Dogma though. Dogma, there was no magic hand of God or anything like that. There was no Deus Ex Machina, like for the entire movie. That was not until the very end, but it took the lead character's sacrifice
Hmm.
for that to happen. And it wasn't like a willing sacrifice, but it was like very intentionally putting herself in the way of danger to save all of humanity. So her death, as brief as it may have been in that movie, because God resurrected, uh,
Yeah.
freed God from the hospital bed where he was trapped in that body, so he could go back and beat the angel, like beat Bartleby to the archway to that church,
Hmm.
and then Alanis Morissette like
You froze.
Blows his head off like, huh?
You froze for a second.
Oh, sorry. But that's where Alanis Morissette showed up to sing to him and blow his mind away. But Kevin Smith has moments where it's just really bad writing in his movies. One of which I would have to say, it always goes back to Clerks, the original Clerks.
Okay.
It's a classic movie. Yes. It started his career. Absolutely. Would it get made today? Absolutely. It could get made. Would it be successful today? Probably not.
I was going to say it absolutely would get made today because nobody had a hand in making it except him and the credit card companies.
Yeah. But the thing is, like with that, the speech patterns in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's, as someone that was raised in New Jersey, I can tell you right now, no one speaks with that great of vocabulary. Like, I mean, a few people, sure. But the way they say things in that movie, like he's talking about the mafia boss.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, well, I was in a home, like, I'm a contractor. I was working this place of whatever the name is. Like, the mob boss, the same. Like, okay.
Do you think that also might be part of not actually hiring actors for the smaller roles?
I mean, if they decide to go ahead and go in there and just say that line themselves, I would blame that on the actor. But if the actors are just reading the script word for word, I blame the bad writing. Because using
it's a brilliant line, but I can imagine, somebody else going in the line, going in there and saying the same.
Oh yeah, but it's like the thing is like the acting. No, the acting wasn't great. The acting, like there was a few actors in it that were actually really good.
There's like 3 actors in the whole movie.
Well, I'm just saying. Well, actually, you also had Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes.
Like I said, 3 actors, and they were Dante.
Marilyn, I forget her name, but played Vanessa. She actually did pretty good. But even then, like with how she was in the movie, like the way, like just like really the speech patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Or even like the comedic points, like where, how much does this cost? She's standing underneath the sign that says $1. I get why I get why it's there, but it's just like it's like kind of like for me, it's just kind of like just rough. I don't know. Like I mean, maybe it's like also the editing, but the writing primarily I would say like goes to the dialogue. But good writing should make you want to keep reading a book, just as it should make you want to keep reading a script, just as it should make you want to keep reading the movie, watching the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Good writing powers you forward into something. Bad writing just kind of leaves you hung up. Now, The Room is a movie and script full of bad writing.
Yeah.
Like, for those of you that have never seen Tommy Wiseau's The Room, I think it's worth a watch one time only. It's got a big fan base. Mm.
You watch it once to go, what? And then you watch with your friends going, ha.
Like they got like some 20-something-year-old guy to play like a 13-year-old kid.
You want Denny?
Denny. And like like Tommy Wiseau and his wife in the movie are getting ready to have some happy adult fun time, and all of a sudden, like as they're like getting a little bit passionate, in comes Denny. Just dives on the bed and starts like getting into a tickle fight with everybody, like.
And they're cool with it.
Let's go play football in the alley, like in tuxedos.
Someone that's never watched a football game.
The one scene is like where Mark is talking about the girl that got beat up so badly, and she ends up in a hospital, and you got someone so. What a great story, Mark. Like,
so Mark, how's your sex life?
Yeah. So Mark, how's your sex life? Like, I mean, oh God. And every impersonation we ever do of Tommy Wiseau always comes off like
more believable than the actual Tommy Wiseau.
No, it comes off more Borat.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
He goes and he gets. He goes in a flower shop with sunglasses on.
I was just about to
orders his bouquet. He's like, "Oh, Tommy, I didn't recognize you.
You're my
Thank you. Have
customer.
a great day. Yeah, you're my favorite customer. Oh, yeah, I got another customer. They're like, Well, I don't need to shop here.
He's your favorite customer, yet you don't recognize him when he walks in.
Well, yeah, like I mean,
Freaky vampire looking dude. I think would be hard to miss.
it's like,
Oh,
and then
hi,
like,
doggy.
but then it's like they have things like, yeah, I know why they do this in movies. I know why they do this in movies. Doesn't mean it does not continue to drive me crazy every time I see a scene of this in a movie.
Uh-huh.
But it's where one character has to explain everything that happened in the movie to this point. For those that, for whatever reason, might have wandered into the movie theater halfway through the damn movie.
Yeah.
Let me see if I find this one really quick. If you want to think of another example, I'll come back to this. But let me see if I can find this one. The best example I saw was only recent. Let's see.
Sure. One thing that comes to mind in that vein is when they decide to cut to the part where he says, "Hold on. Tell me about this one more time." And then it does that whole, in case you missed it, here's what happened. But could you imagine that if they did that for every movie, just like in the middle of the movie, you like John McClane's like, Carl Winslow's out there like, "What happened, man?" And he's like, "Well, I was here visiting my wife, and then these terrorist dudes, they want to rob the place. I've had to kill a few of them. I was walking on glass with bare feet, and I'm doing my best just to stay alive up here. So I'm gonna fight Hans Gruber and probably gonna kill him at some point. What are you doing down there, Mr. Police Officer?" That would be a little on the ridiculous side, but that's actually what happens in some movies. As you were mentioning well, in case you just walked in, it's almost like they're planning on it being on regular television. So after the commercial break, they can say, "Well, in case you're just tuning in, this is The Godfather, and so far, here we have Sonny Corleone. He's kind of a hothead, and I don't know. I saw the movie a couple times. I don't remember how anything goes. Probably could have used a better example. But if every movie had scenes like that, it would suck.
Yeah, let me try to find the actual. I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't because I want to use that to talk about tonight at some point. Let's see. Rise. There we go. Rise of the Silver Surfer jet scene.
How about just again going along the motif of if every movie did this? He meets Shooter McGavin, and Shooter's like, "Why are you doing this, Happy?" And he's like, "Well, they stole they took my grandma's house, and I'm trying to win these golf tournaments to get her house back. That's why I'm doing this. And I kind of have feelings for that golf lady over there. So, there's some secondary reasoning for me to be here. And by the way, have you met my golf pro, my instructor, my teacher? His name's Chubbs. Lost his hand to an alligator. Can you believe that? Well, that's Happy Gilmore."
Here we go. Okay. It's a scene where they're flying the Quinjet and everything, or whatever the hell it's called. This the Fantastic Four jet that's in the comic books and Rise of the Silver Surfer. It's after Doctor Doom steals the surfboard, and now everyone except for Johnny are in this ship because Johnny can fly. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, in the very back of this ship, and it says, and this is towards the right before the final battle of the movie. The thing says, "Okay, we're now officially enemies of the United States of America. Victor is out there somewhere with unlimited power, and we've got a giant intergalactic force that's about to destroy our planet in less than 24 hours. Did I miss anything? Why do you need to say that? You know that's what's happening."
Someone should look at him and say, Yes, Ben,
Like,
we were all here. We know what's going on.
like that would be great. But that right there is the perfect example to me of like something that's so stupid. Again, I get why they do it, but at the same time, like that's just filler dialogue that serves zero purpose.
It fills time. Got to up that
And
page
then,
count.
but then it just gets like cut by Reed Richards saying, "I've got a lock on Victor's energy." Like, there's no addressing that question.
Yeah, nobody's listening to Ben.
It's like, Ben, shut up. Okay, I've got a lock on Victor's energy here.
Maybe it's their passive aggressive ways of saying, "Wow, he's a moron."
It's like, we will drop you in the ocean.
And you'll sink like a rock. As Reed cleverly laughs at his own joke.
Like a rock. But no, it's like also like let's go ahead and like keeping with Fantastic, because Fantastic Four is actually loaded with bad writing. Loaded with it.
Yeah.
The thing weighs how much? Like he weighs a shit ton, right?
Uh-huh.
He gets on a plane and flies somewhere with them. Like that's a lot of weight. A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you're flying with practically like a small boulder in your car, in your plane. In the first movie, there's a scene where he gets hit by a car. When he gets hit by a car, he lands on the hood. No damage to the car at all. None. Like they're driving around with him. Like this is a boulder, man. Like one thing I can say is like at least like the remake of Fantastic Four, the reboot of it, actually got the thing right when it came to like his size and his weight.
Still haven't seen it.
It's a really bad movie. Really bad. The first two movies were better, but you know. But no, so it's like summing up something in a movie to keep people updated. Like that's my way of like looking at a movie like, oh, did they really think this movie was that boring that they had to add that line in here to make sure we didn't forget anything? Like maybe somebody here fell asleep and they wake up halfway through the movie like, oh, is that what happened? Well, that sounds like a hell of an adventure.
or it's one of those lines that they throw in to have in the trailer.
And just keep it in the movie?
Yeah. You know, something that sums up what's going on. Because, you know, honestly, we've already had this discussion about trailers before. They're not vague at all anymore. You get every plot point. It could very well easily be part of that too. Just you can summarize everything, pop it in the trailer, and you'll go, "Oh, those are the stakes in this movie. Got it."
Yeah, let me see here really quick. Are
you gonna watch the trailer for Rise of the Silver Surfer?
No. I'm looking up times that character. I was hoping this was not going to be a list because I have a few movies I was thinking of where characters have actually summed up the plot of the movie that we've seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
The Perks of Being a Wallflower is one of them, and this is actually on here, where let's see.
Okay, I'm going to do another one real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
So what you're telling me is the five of us are stuck in these caves being chased by a bunch of gangsters and their mother while we're looking for a lost pirate ship? Did I cover everything? The Goonies.
Was that actually in the Goonies?
No.
I was going to say that'd be great. No, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, like I mean, or it's like I mean the whole like think of like the end of Ghostbusters. It was like, oh, so now we're here. Ray thought of something that's about to kill us, and now we have like this old like god that has turned into this giant marshmallow that now we have to find some way to blow up, and our only option is probably going to be to cross the streams and to close the gates. Is there anything else I missed here?
Yeah. You told me that if anybody ever asks me I'm a god, if I'm a god, I should say yes.
Yeah. Oh, and the fact that they actually had that come back in Ghostbusters Afterlife was great. Are you a god? And Ray's just standing there like, Ray. Oh, come on, Ray. Yes. Yeah, we're all gods.
Love the callbacks.
Ray, if anyone ever asks you if you are a god, you say yes. Oh God. But yeah, there's a few movies where it's been that's brought up, but you always hear about what is happening. You always hear like an update in the story, and pretty much I would look at mostly like poorly written movies. They're the ones that usually do that.
Mm-hmm.
But Fantastic Four was, I'm sorry, Rise of the Silver Surfer was the first one that came to mind because I was just watching it the other day. Trying to think, was it really as bad as I remember it being? I was like, oh, it was. The Silver Surfer was cool as hell. But when I saw that one scene of the Thing like summing up the entire movie, I'm like, oh, come on.
Would it be fair to say that when it comes to actual lazy writing, not the thing people keep complaining about because y'all don't know what it is, it's more of a matter of unnecessary convenience when it comes to anything.
Okay.
Like you said, unnecessarily filling in the plot points of the movie that you have been watching, just for what seems like, page filler to get that page count up, to get that screen time up, or exposition dumps that you haven't figured out how to show, so you're just telling everything, which is, naughty. But yeah. I think lazy, in especially in the much stuttering, the much traditional use of the word, as far as in everyday life, involves taking shortcuts and not doing everything that you're supposed to do. And like I said, when you do a lot of telling instead of showing, when you make your solutions to your problems be very convenient with no setup, these things all contribute to being lazy writing. Not just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's lazy.
Yeah, it could just be bad.
Or sometimes it's not even bad. Sometimes you're just a jerk. Not all the time. I'm just saying that there are some people that would say, no matter how good or bad the writing is, there are people are saying that would say The Godfather is bad writing. The Godfather is lazy writing.
Okay.
One of the things I like to do is go through Letterboxd, especially, and when it comes to reviews, I'd like to look at, we'll say, classic films that are considered all-time greats, and then read the lowest reviews. A lot of the times it's very trolly people, but other times people are very sincere about, giving The Godfather that 1 star. Or let's see, Dog Day Afternoon, let's give it the 1 star. And it usually ends up being it's bad writing, it's lazy writing, and Back to the Future. Back to the Future, one of the considered, widely considered, one of the most perfect screenplays ever written. And I don't. That's not even hyperbolic. It's taught. It
Yeah.
is very very tight. But no matter how good a screenplay is, there's going to be some joker out there that's like Back to the Future, lazy writing, terrible movie.
Are you attacking me on this one, or?
No, I'm not attacking
Okay.
you
So-
directly.
Well, see, like there's a great example. There's actually two examples, and this would be lazy to me. One thing I cannot take serious about Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar,
I mean,
is unobtainium,
yeah.
because it's unobtainable. I think I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
No, I've heard.
Is that how it's pronounced?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's one of them. But now, as far as lazy writing goes, I love this movie. Don't get me wrong. Just because of how wild the concept was back in the 90s. Face Off.
Oh, Face Off.
Face Off. Now, if you switch someone's face and you change their vocals, whatever, that's believable. Okay, that's science fiction, but you know what? I could get behind that. You change their face, you change their vocals. In the 90s, well, just in general, John Travolta and Nicolas Cage are built very differently. Like, just because they're both hairy doesn't mean that like one's body is going to pass off for another's body. Like, I mean, if they're going to like just do everything, and what if the one partner wants to, I don't know, have sex with the other, like with whoever is doing their thing? And John Travolta, when he has them do the same thing to him that, when the psychopath does the same thing that John Travolta's character does, and he takes over John Travolta's life. It's not like it's just this, as you said earlier, plot armor that exists solely for the sake of covering up and masking bad writing or lazy writing. There's plenty of it. Like, okay, we have to have a way for us to know that John Travolta, when Nicolas Cage is playing that character, that we have to know how this is John Travolta now. Okay, so in the flashback scene at the beginning, let's have him do some weird thing that I don't get, where he gently runs his hand down the middle of his kid's face. Well, there's no way that Nicolas Cage would do that. But Nicolas Cage is the one that shot him while he was spending time with his son after he did the whole hand rub down the face.
Mm-hmm.
Show us you're really him. They know everything about each other. You think he wouldn't know the whole sign of affection that he did? Like, it's just lazy as hell. So like this procedure manages to change his mannerisms, bodily appearance, and it's all identical to him. I don't know. Like, you can't change a person's mentality. Their personality is their personality. I don't know. Let me see if I had this list here that I made. Like, there was one that I was talking about. Well, I'm not talking about, but thinking about. That's right, the newsroom.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about introducing characters and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
The opening scene in the first episode of the newsroom is Jet Daniels on that college campus, or like the talk show. And he goes on this long speech. And it's great. It's a great speech.
Mm-hmm. Certainly got
But
him noticed.
Yep. But I look at that as bad writing because no matter how great the speech was, it's just not believable to me. Like he's going down thing. It just seems like a written speech that he's going down on.
Yeah.
Like it's there for the sake of him to lose his job and whatever, right? So
It did seem like he had that response just loaded up, ready to go.
oh yeah, it's like so you're saying yes, like and he goes off, he pops off on everybody, goes down like a long list of free country. Like yeah, it's a great speech, it really is, but it's one of those times where this monologue just comes off as I don't know. People really get behind the speech because it's well written and it is a well written assessment of America, especially of the politics.
Yeah.
But it just feels like a polemic. Like I mean, it feels like it's found like in a magazine more than like a natural response to a person. If that makes sense. It doesn't come off as dramatic to me. It came off more as a comedy when he said that.
Nah, I wouldn't go that far, but
Oh.
and like I said, it seemed like it was a preloaded answer and less of a this is a character that is dumping his real feelings in real time.
Yep. Well, how about
Almost
this?
like you knew what the question was going to be beforehand.
Yep. How about Interstellar?
I know I've seen it.
The very last scene.
I remember anything about it.
Matthew McConaughey spends the entire movie going to his distant planet to come back and try to come back to his daughter.
Yeah.
Right? He comes back and she is on her deathbed as an old woman. He spends 2 minutes with this daughter he has not seen in years, who has not seen her since she was a child. And they spend 2 minutes together before he walks away and kind of looks back over his shoulder and then he just moves on with his life. I'm like, dude, I know she's wearing a diaper again, but she's wearing a diaper as an old woman because you were gone her entire life. That is still your daughter.
His only purpose, his only goal was to get back to her.
And that purpose was given up after 2 minutes when he finally got to his goal. Like, okay, I'm over this toy now. Time to move on.
I guess I got that job done.
Like, all right.
Catch you on the flippity flip, kid.
The Dark Knight Rises is another example of pretty lazy writing. Doesn't really explain anything. I'm not talking about Bruce Wayne coming back from the other side of the world. I'm talking about how every single cop in the city is locked underground for the most part, or in hiding, for months. And when those cops are finally freed, they don't need any medical attention. They're just going to go straight out and start fighting.
Well, to be fair, they were fed.
Yeah, but they're fed, but there's no exercise. They're down. They're underneath the ground. They're trapped in a tight space.
It was definitely not the best of the Nolan Batman movies. Isn't that right, Mr. Wayne?
Yep, Bruce Wayne fixing. Oh yeah.
I'm not Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne fixing the Batwing. You know, and like he flies all the way out to like the middle of the ocean, miles from the shore.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like survive. It's never detailed like when he actually got out.
No,
we don't know that. We know that he survived. But if keeping his, I don't know, if keeping who he is a secret is such a big deal, why would the last thing you do? Why would it be to tell everyone and their mother who you are? Well, knowing that Alfred is still very much alive.
Yeah, yeah. That and you're bringing up Alfred. I'm going to touch on this real quick.
The cafe.
At the cafe. I don't care if you're like, Well, what I want is to see you on the other side of a cafe and then never acknowledge you. And it's like, if I was Alfred and my former boss, let's face it, who was his boss, um,
You're
just
fired, Dad.
he's like,
He's his father in the whole storyline. He's his adopted father that happens to work for him.
so you see him across the cafe, the guy that supposedly died saving the city. Don't you think you'd have
Oh
one or
God.
two questions like, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be dead.
I mean,
Especially since, like you said, he's supposed to be a father figure, right?
and not just that though, but okay. This is a cafe, if not mistaken, that Alfred talked about he goes to when he's on holiday, right?
Yes.
Okay. And this whole monologue about how he dreams that he would see him away from Gotham, away from all of this, away from Batman. And he'd go to this cafe, and one day he would look up and he would see him, and he wouldn't say anything to him. Bruce Wayne wouldn't say anything to Alfred, but they would both know that he made it. Okay, that's great. So I kind of understand at that point why they didn't say anything to each other. Now, I'm sure he would have more of an emotional response considering he broke down over what he presumed as the grave of Bruce Wayne. When he broke down to Thomas and Martha Wayne saying, "I failed you. I failed." That's so much. My heart broke in the theater watching Michael Caine cry. I cried.
Yeah.
But the thing is that what is not forgivable to me in writing is the fact that Alfred would have had to have caught Bruce Wayne on that very day, at that exact time, to see that Bruce Wayne was out and Anne Hathaway was wearing, Selena Kyle was wearing, his mother's pearls. So this begs the question: did Alfred go to this place every day on holiday? And without him knowing that Bruce Wayne was still alive, there's no way that Bruce Wayne would know when Alfred is going on holiday or when he's going to be in town. So would that mean Bruce Wayne would then be just hanging around his cafe all day long with Anne Hathaway, wearing his mother's pearls, just so he can see Alfred for that 1 second? I just kind of do this whole. Let me see if I can recreate this look. Wait.
For those of you at home, Brandon is fixing his hair.
Close enough.
The audio listeners. Okay, he's giving a nod and a smile across the cafe.
That weird ass look that he gave him, where he sucked in his the Christian Bale look that Christian Bale does.
Yeah. Let me stop you here for a second.
Come on.
Let me stop you real quick. So your working theory is they're going to this cafe every day, and maybe Selena's like, Bruce, we've been coming here every day for a month. Why are we doing this? You're making me wear the same thing every day. And Bruce looks at her and says, well, you see, Alfred told me this dream that he has, and I just want to make it come true. I could, I guess, track him and find out when exactly he's going to be here, but I've already learned that tracking everybody is not cool. So I figured if we just showed up every day and I'm here to give him the acknowledgement, then that should work for him. And Selena's like, so that means I still have to come
yes,
here
you still have
every
to.
day and wear your dead mother's, the mother you saw shot. I have to wear her pearls every day so you can make your butler feel happy. Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Okay, you're still rich. Works for me. Scene.
It's like so, but you have like these moments in a lot of things where you have a dialogue or you have like a exposition or an action that makes no sense. Game of Thrones is a great example of them not knowing how to wrap up the series because the books weren't finished, so they just make what's her face Daenerys just go full psycho mode. I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard enough about it to know that is what's going on. But yep, you there?
Yep.
Okay, I'm frozen up again, aren't I?
No, you're good.
I'm not seeing that I'm good. I'm seeing that I'm still frozen here.
Well, on my end, you are golden.
Okay. Oh, my internet's. Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it. Oh no, my internet's acting up on my devices here for some reason.
Yeah, well, it
So-
wouldn't be the WADcast without at least one technical issue, right?
See how it works. But yeah. So it's like with Daenerys going full psycho mode at the end of Game of Thrones. Full bloodthirsty and all that stuff. Like, and they even made her look as psychotic as possible, with, like the sunken in eyes and dark spots, everything. And as someone that's never watched more than 2 or 3 episodes of the show, to my understanding is that she was always, for the most part, fair with people.
Oh,
But then out of nowhere, she went full on psycho bitch.
I saw the first episode. That's the extent of my Games of Throning.
But
So I can't really
so
give you an educated thought.
I mean, like trying to look into all this stuff. Like I had to really, like, I guess, try to read up on some of it or look into that show further. But it largely makes no sense with the direction they took with the character and how they wrote her in there. So, but they had to write this. They had to write the series up, and this is how they do it. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, lazy writing, didn't know how to end it, so they cut from them being surrounded by bad guys with guns to them being in therapy, loving each other to death.
You know,
You never see anything about the syndicate that they're fighting. That never makes its way into the story. Just a few guys jumping in the ceiling with guns, and they're trying to shoot them. Nice, sweetie. So,
hey, you know, there is one example I can think of where they take that very idea and actually use it to the benefit of the show.
okay.
That is from Rick and Morty,
Oh yeah.
where 1 minute something's happened and then it like cuts forward to 5 minutes later, and they're like, oh my god, did that just happen? We can never talk about that again.
Oh yeah. Well, so Rick and Morty, they even do things where, but there's so okay. In Rick and Morty, there's an episode in this newest season where there's a talking cat. No one knows why this cat can talk. Nobody knows. He's got different stories for himself and everything else. Rick has enough of this. This cat is largely bonded with Jerry, but Rick has had enough of this cat. He's sick of it. So they go for a ride in his ship, and they stop in the middle of nowhere. And Rick gets out and says, "Oh, we're going to stretch your legs." The cat gets out, and Rick traps him with a force field. And he says, "All right, you're going to stay right there while I scan your mind. I'm going to find out why you can talk." And the cat's like, "Well, I told you." It's like, "Yeah, I told you how I learned how I became like how I was able to start speaking. Isn't that enough for you?" Rick's like, "No, it's not enough for me. I need to know." So he scans his brain. He looks into like these binoculars where he can see all of the thoughts and everything that happened with his cat, and he just starts freaking out. He's like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" Jerry's like, "Let me see." He's like, "No, Jerry, you do not look in there. You don't want to look in there." Jerry looks in there, and he starts freaking out, starts throwing up, and all this shit. And Rick lets the cat go. He says, "Get the hell out of here! Get out of here now! Get out of here now! Go away! Don't ever come back!" Like, just shoot him, gets rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
So while they're freaking out, Rick even goes so far as putting the gun in his mouth, thinking about pulling the trigger because he's so freaked out by something. And he pulls it out. He's like, he calms himself down. Jerry's still rocking back and forth in the fetal position. And, it's like, Jerry's like, well, like, oh no, Rick pulls out this memory eraser, and he's like, "I'm going to take this out of your memory. You're not going to remember anything about that cat." Jerry's like, "Well, I think one of us needs to remember like what exactly happened here today." Rick's like, "One of us will," and he removes it from Jerry's memory. I was reading about this, like, why didn't they tell us what was going on with this cat? Like in the episode, you never find out. You never even hear about this cat again.
Mm-hmm.
It was made as a nod from the showrunners to not put so much thought in everything and just enjoy something for what it is.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of that cat speaking and not knowing how that cat got the ability to speak. Only one that knows is Rick. I think the showrunners even said, like, we don't even know how the cat learned how to talk. We never thought about it. We just think it'd be funny if Rick knew, but we don't. Oh, okay. Well, but people have made jokes about Rick. I'm sorry, about Rick and Morty being bad writing. I'm like, not really. It's actually praised for its writing.
I'd say,
like
if anything, sometimes it's a little too clever for its own good.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, like when you watch the series at first, it's just like a stupid cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just a dumb like episodic cartoon and all this stuff. It's okay. But when you get into it, you see like Rick's backstory and everything else, and why he is the way he is.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? I'm right. I support him. Like, this is the day you invented the portal gun. I didn't invent it. I did. Like, talking about the alternate him. Like, it's, I mean, it's really good writing. Like, I mean, but like, that gets confused with things. Like, I think the cat thing, people are like, oh, well, they didn't know how to, like, they didn't know how to make that like a storyline, so they didn't make it a storyline. Well, no, they knew what they were doing. They were telling us to not think so hard about stuff and just enjoy it for what it is. The cat even said that in that episode. But
and to bring us all the way back around to how all of this began, talking about the MCU, right?
Yep.
When it comes to lately, specifically She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, and I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, anybody that calls these shows out for anything is just a misogynist or whatever. Because you know what? Okay, I'm going to break this down. First of all, for those of you listening, remember, Marvel, in this particular instance, is a studio, right?
Yep.
Their job is to make movies and television shows. Here's the thing. Like any movie or television studio, their job is to create many different types of shows and movies. You don't see Warner Brothers putting out the same type. Okay, bad example. You don't see Paramount producing one type of movie or TV show. You don't see Sony producing one type of movie or TV show. They have different projects for different demographics, just like Marvel Studios does. And you know what? Not everything is going to appeal to you. Are you going to watch everything that Paramount puts out because it's Paramount? And before anybody gets worked up, I understand that when it comes to the MCU, everything's connected. Everything's, woven together to create this rich tapestry, this world. But the thing is, you can still enjoy the world, and maybe you're not necessarily a fan of this patch or that patch, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the quilt is a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah.
So with that being said, just because you're not in the key demographic for Miss Marvel, teen girls specifically, or She-Hulk, females 18 to 36, 46, something like that. It does kind of adopt that Ally McBeal style a bit.
Yeah.
But they're taking these different genres and adding the Marvel flavor to it. But one of the most common arguments I see when it comes to people not liking this, and that's the reason why we're talking about this at all, is because it is chalked up to lazy writing. And
Yeah,
I personally take umbrage with this because as a writer, we just mentioned all sorts of ways writing can be lazy. We've even mentioned ways that, in some instances, lazy writing can be a good thing. Like you don't have to explain what was in the cat's head. If anything, if anything, Marvel's writing should be considered too try hard because they feel it seems like they have to explain everything. Maybe not necessarily in that moment, but using
at
this
some
as an
point.
example, Noob Master 69 was, his identity was revealed
Yeah,
for a throwaway joke because Thor was playing, no, uh, Korg was playing Fortnite. Or was it Thor? I don't know. Anyway, somebody was playing Fortnite, and, Noob Master 69 was in the game with him.
talking
And
smack.
yeah, talking smack. And what happened? A couple years later, we find out who that person is. Why? Because whether it's considered a plot hole at the time or I like to think an unpulled thread, Marvel feels like they have to explain everything.
And who was it?
I don't remember.
Huh.
Because sometimes something's not important. Sometimes a joke should just be a joke.
Yeah.
And you just let it go.
I mean, it's funny for the callback aspect of things. Speaking of which, like me and Danielle, we watched Thor: Love and Thunder together last night.
You for the first time, yeah?
Yep, first time. But people have given that like so much crap over being lazy writing or bad writing or something like that. And I personally, I really enjoyed that movie. I actually really enjoyed that movie.
Did you look at it through the lens that I brought up?
Yes. Yes.
It seemed to make everything make sense, in my opinion. The fact that Corey is telling the story.
Absolutely. It's like the excuse me, everybody. It's been a long week.
Yeah, it has.
But no, there's what was the example I was going to talk about earlier? There was one more primary example of bad writing, like lazy writing, rather, that I wanted to discuss. Well, there's two. You'll see one like Suicide Squad. We're introduced to the characters in a very creative way, right?
Well, is it the first one?
The first one. We are introduced. The movie sucked, but we are introduced to them in a very creative way. Now, the music had nothing to do with any of the character introductions.
No.
Like Fortunate Son and The Croc are not really something I would see going together. But we got to see like these interesting. Yeah, that would have been more sense, but instead they went with Fortunate Son. But we got to see them. We got to see how like the Enchantress became the Enchantress, how she got possessed by this witch, all that stuff. We got to see all these things, and that's great. But then Transformers, God, I think whatever the last one was, where Megatron, huh?
I don't know how.
The last one with Megatron in it, which was like it was a return of Megatron after it became like Galvatron, and the one before that, Megatron comes back. Yet somehow the previous movie is still canon to this one, but we don't know how Megatron made a comeback. But then we're introduced to the Decepticons the same way, with like the flashy title cards for each character. We're hearing about why they're in whatever. Oh, this one robbed 3 banks. For what? Why would he rob banks? Well, what? Why? I mean, it's just like a way to make it, I don't know, intense and interesting. But Christ, there was an example I was going to talk about. I cannot remember what it was. I'll be right back. Let me think about this.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Brandon steps away to figure out what he was trying to remember, and Man, I wish we had a camera crew. We could follow him and find out what his thought process is. See what he does to try and recapture an escaped idea. Is he going to another room to sit on the couch and quietly ponder what exactly it is that he lost? Is he going to the toilet to contemplate what he was going to say, but it just escapes him at this point in time? It would be a nice little montage. Maybe he's taking a walk around the block. Grabbing a smoke, trying to get his head straight so he can remember what exactly he was going to say. Is that lazy writing? Maybe. But it certainly would be fun to see. Like if I just pressed a button and we just followed Brandon and you could see him like, I don't know, first sitting on the couch and then going to wherever, taking a walk around the block, goes to the store, maybe a 60-second little video. We could cut to him, in front of a Christmas tree, and then maybe cut to him having a kid, and then cut to the kid's graduation, and then he comes back. He's like, I remember what it was. But he doesn't know what we're talking about, so shh. Don't tell Brandon. Hey, Brandon, I was just talking to our friends. Ah, that's what it was. For you audio listeners, it's beer o'clock.
Well, I haven't had one all damn week, man. I will be drinking tonight. But, no, so I guess I can always catch back up on what we missed, like on the replay.
Then you don't need to do that.
I still can't remember what the hell it was I was going to talk about. But I've been thinking about, like, what the hell was it that I was going to say? And I can't think of it.
Well, to work in reverse, I went MCU. Before that, it was Rick and Morty.
Nothing. I will say this, though. Like, there was someone I was talking to at work, and they were talking about, like, because I was, like, looking up stuff, and they asked me what I was looking up. I'm like, oh, just, just examples of lazy writing to discuss on our show on Friday night. And he was like, oh, you should put South Park on there. I was like, South Park? So, like,
Shots
what the hell
fired.
makes you think that's all. What do you think makes South Park anything near lazy? Like, at all. It's all like, each show is put into pre-production, written, storyboarded, animated, edited, and distributed in a span of just a few days. That's all. Like, there's nothing lazy about that. And the fact that they're able to crank out fresh ideas every week and revisit old ones with a twist, it's hysterical. And it's insane. Like, I have a lot of respect for Matt Parker and Trey Stone. Or I'm sorry, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Yeah, Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Mm-hmm.
But those guys are awesome. But no, I was trying to think.
Cannibal the Musical comes to mind.
Cannibal the Musical. I have to really thank my friend Shanna for introducing me to that movie. Because I then introduced my baby sister to Cannibal the Musical. The whole tap dancing in the snow scene is still my favorite part of the whole movie. Because that comes back later on as they're walking down another hill. For those of you who've never seen Cannibal the Musical, there is a character that just wants to build a snowman. And this is not like, do you want to build a snowman kind of song? This is just weird musical number. But it's his way of getting people to stop their fighting and bickering while they're hiking through the 1800s Midwest wilderness in a snowstorm, in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes in this whole dance number about, we probably see this dance number about like building a snowman. It's like as he's rolling the snowman, like there's a giant hole that he's standing in, and he just starts tap dancing. You hear like the clicking and everything else when he's tap dancing. Long story short, someone gets sick of him singing, so they shoot him in the head. They kill him.
Yep.
15 minutes later, they're walking through another part of the wilderness. And there's one character's like, anyone else notice how he was tap dancing on the ground? Like wearing boots? How did he do that? It was so stupid. But it was hysterical. And for those of you, if you want to know where you can see this movie, I think it's on Amazon Prime, but it's a trauma production.
You can watch
the guys
it
that
on
made
YouTube.
Is it on YouTube? Okay,
Yeah.
it's on YouTube. But the movie is hysterical. It's flat out hysterical.
For free, I mean.
Yeah, it's a very, very young. It's Matt Parker, right?
Matt Parker, Trey Stone, even Squeak from Basketball is up there.
But I don't think Trey Stone is in it.
Yeah, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, they're both in it.
Oh, I didn't know that they were in it. Because I know it's Trey Parker and what's his face that played Kenny in Basketball. But
I hear your sister's dating Squeak. Steve Perry.
Like, you guys could be love Squeak. It's like, if you guys keep this up like 16 or 17 more times, I'm out of here.
or honestly, Brandon is a habitual Facebook offender. We all know this. This is true.
Oh, and you know what? I've got a special announcement about that. Mom, I'm proud of you.
What?
She got her first warning for violating the community standards.
Well, that's where I was going to. I've gotten one warning, right? And it's because in the movie Addiction Group, somebody posted something about Basketball, which is my favorite sports movie of all time. And in response to this, as a fellow basketball fan, the only way to respond is by saying, "Wake up, bitch! You're my new best friend." And then the community standards was like, "You're being warned." I'm like, it's a quote from the movie that we both love.
You know what? I remember what it was now. I remember what my lazy writing thing was going to be.
Okay, go for it.
Because we discussed dialogue. We've discussed just certain things that don't make much sense.
Not setting up.
One thing I don't like is when it's used to propel a story forward. And Cobra Kai, I'm talking to you.
Shut your damn mouth.
Cobra Kai has a large fan following, which is great. I enjoy Cobra Kai. But one thing I'm getting tired of seeing in Cobra Kai, because I see it at least like 3 times every episode, because it's the only way they can carry the story forward, is Daniel and his wife are talking about something.
Uh-huh.
In comes his daughter, but she stops just around the corner. But he hears them say something that's taken out of context for a second.
Okay.
And she storms off with it. Like she's just going to go like practice her kicks and blocks and be all mad.
Yeah, that's fair.
But then like Johnny's son, same thing happens to him.
It happens to all
that
the
happens.
Kids. They never stick around and listen to all of the words.
And not just the kids, but like with Johnny and Daniel, it's happened before, multiple times. The wife, it's happened to her. It keeps happening. But it's the only way that they know how to carry the story forward, apparently, because it's the only thing that drives the plots is miscommunication. If you were to get every character in that show and sit them down in a conference room and they could say exactly what they're thinking, there'd be no conflict.
I will say this.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Oh, no, it's okay. Fuck you. Hey, fuck you. Like
the show does a really good job of recognizing this in some ways, because there are points where, everybody sits down to talk about what happens, right? Like when Daniel's old flame comes to town. What's her face from the first movie?
Elizabeth Shue.
And they're all just sitting around at dinner, the 4 of them, talking about old times. While they're in the middle of the Daniel Johnny kind of escalating feud.
Yeah, well, they're kind of healing, but they're not healing. They're like mending, but they're not mending.
They're begrudgingly sitting at the table together because their women are like being friendly.
No fighting.
Wait, wait, you're telling me you boys are still mad about this thing from when we were in high school? And the fact that they actually do point out the absurdity of the whole situation several times.
Oh yeah.
I will say the first few times it was like, oh, I see what you're doing there. And then, like you said, it gets to the point where it happens so much like, why don't you just remember that you're all adults? No one
Well, it's
seems
like
to be able
like
to remember that.
but see, the thing is, like with the adults, it's one thing because the adults there's such a long history of disdain between he and Johnny. And like what I will say is like what I like about the show is I like in the first like because now he and Johnny are at least like allies, right? Now they're allies.
Yeah.
Now they're you actually might be able to get away with calling them friends. But because they don't have anyone else, they don't have any other adult friends. They have each other. That's really it.
Hmm.
But in the first season, you have Johnny and you have Daniel, and there's one scene where Johnny is test driving the car and Daniel's riding shotgun, and they both sing along to the same song. And Johnny's shocked that Daniel knows this song. He's like, "Oh, you like this, bro? You like this band?" He's like, "Who doesn't?" They're sitting
Was
down having a
was it
drink, and they're actually
Chicago?
joking. I fucking I know, but they're at a bar having a drink, and they're actually having a good conversation. And like you see, like little breaks here and there between he and Johnny. Like they actually do kind of care about each other.
At
And
the
you can
very
see
least,
that.
respect each other a little bit.
Yeah, like you can actually see it like in their actions.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is every time the plot advances, it is usually because of someone walking in on a halfway through a conversation or in part of a sentence, stopping, staring dramatically, and huffing and running off. And then it just whatever. I guess karate is that volatile in California out here still
Yeah, in the
that it
valley.
turns into yeah. Now it turns into all the more reason why I won't move out to the valley. It's got nothing to do with the wildfires right now. It's got everything to do with the fact that I don't want to get stuck up in some kind of karate tournament. I don't know rivalry that goes back like 30, 40 years to
I'm
where
I'm
now
gonna
the kids are even fighting.
I'm gonna say though that if I'm to play devil's advocate, even though I really enjoy the show, I don't really consider it devil's advocate. But one of the things that at least pushes things forward in a natural way, something that I think is done very well, is the fact that when the kids are brought into it, I'm not talking about from the kids' perspective, right? But
Mm-hmm.
when the adults are talking about the kids, or Daniel's trying to mentor Johnny's kid, and things like that, that adds a new level of personal that I think excuses the muted myself there for a second.
I was
Uh,
gonna say,
it sort of excuses the absence of logic. It puts these parents, these fathers, into an irrational state where they just want to a fix their kid's problem and b beat somebody up.
yeah,
And in this particular world, you can achieve one by doing the other.
yeah,
So that's the only reason I see them going from okay, we hate each other to okay, you're not bad. I finally see things from your perspective a little bit. And
no,
then
let's swallow our pride and work on things with each other, right?
yeah, and then of course that falls apart because Johnny sees Daniel trying. I guess in his mind, he's not a brilliant guy. This Johnny, he sees Daniel almost trying to be a father to his kid, what he
Yeah,
hasn't been able to do, which brings back the rivalry of, oh, he thinks he's so much better than me, and so on and so forth until. But again, that comes from a place of, what, part of me thinks Daniel really did want us to kind of stick it to Johnny a little bit by teaching the kid, but at the end of the day, it does come from miscommunication when really the truth of the matter is they both care about the kid.
yeah.
but having this rivalry it's only serving them and their pride and their egos. It's not good for the kid at all. It's not good for any.
No, the entire series is about a bunch of middle-aged men or senior citizens using kids to their advantage to settle old scores. That's the entire series right there.
I still don't understand why. God, what's his name? The original Cobra Kai guy. What the hell's his name?
The original Cobra Kai guy.
Yeah, the first sensei. Cobra Kai.
Oh, you know what? Johnny's old sensei.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I don't know how I'm blanking on it this hard.
Yeah, I mean, Christ. John Kreese.
Yes, Kreese. I still don't understand what his goal in all of this is. Having an army of teenagers.
Well, it's not even John Kreese. It's more of like the Terry Silver that wants an army of teenagers at this point. Because I know the new season is out on Netflix now. I haven't gotten a chance to watch any of it yet.
I can't.
But I know the new. Well, you still have an account on mine.
We don't need to say that on the air.
So, who cares? Netflix isn't going to watch. But
what if our one viewer is Netflix?
Oh, God. But,
they don't think we're watching, huh?
But yeah, but the thing is, like, there's but I don't know, like the whole Terry Silver and John Kreese, those two having their rivalry now when they were friends in Karate Kid Part 4?
3.
Was it 3?
Yeah, there was no 4.
No, I'm sorry. No, yeah, Karate Kid. I'm sorry, Karate Kid. Well, there was. It was the next Karate Kid.
That was Hilary Swank.
Hilary Swank. God, Hilary Swank. Damn. Anyway, yeah, Karate Kid 3, where it's like Terry Silver and John Kreese teaming up to take Daniel down for whatever reason. The whole show is like pretty much like about like adults like messing with kids' heads. But my whole gripe with the show is the fact that they use these kids as a way to fight each other, but the show uses the kids as a way to carry the plot because it's always because of the kids and their misunderstandings of the most minuscule situation, and they build mountains out of molehills.
Yeah.
To carry the plot forward. It's just like it's done again and again and again in every single episode until we get to the finale and everything's hung out to dry. And then it increases again because of the same thing. And now we're going into the next season. It's like, how many times can you do this?
Well, I think we're on the last season now.
I hope so. I truly hope so.
Not me. But go on forever.
Not me. It's about time that they just hang up the Karate Kid headband now and just call it a life. But on that note, I am going to have to get going. It is getting kind of late here.
Kind of late there. It's almost midnight here. You're talking, but it's kind of late here.
Well, we still have things that we need to develop away from this. So.
Yes, we have business to discuss.
But either way, I will say, ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. This has been another wonderful episode of the WADcast. And Josh is going to give you his final word, all to the sound of some sweet, sweet goddamn jazz hold music.
I'm proud of you.
I love it so much.
Brandon, I'm proud of you. You did not use your F-bomb once this episode. And I'm proud of you.
I've used it 3 times.
You did not.
I did.
If I say you didn't, you didn't. Do you understand?
Oh, well, thank you. I'm proud of me, too. Go ahead. Now, back to that wonderful jazz hold music.
Now's the part where Brandon removes his headphones. Yeah. I see you looking at me, Brandon. You just can't hear me. I know. Well, boys and girls, before we get out of here and before I get my final message, I want to make sure that you remember to check out the WADcast.com and WADcomedia.com to get all of the essential links necessary to find out what's going on, so you can do things like hit us up on Twitter, go to our Facebook pages, and check us out live every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and on the WADcast, the Writers, Actors, Directors podcast. We also have some other wonderful shows from WADco Media, TV Dinners, and 10 to 1 every Friday night. So, as I do every week, I am going to say, ladies and gentlemen, remember the only thing standing between you and your dreams is you. If you want to be a writer, you know what? All you have to do is start writing. You can take some of the things we talked about tonight and try to avoid some of the pitfalls of lazy writing, because no matter what anybody tells you, it does exist. But remember also that not all lazy writing is bad writing, and not everything you don't like is lazy writing. So I think that's the real key takeaway from everything that we talked about here tonight. But just remember, you can't be a lazy writer. You can't be a bad writer if you don't write at all. So at least start getting something down on paper or screen, whatever your choice is. The fact of the matter is, it all begins with you, and do it now. You're not guaranteed tomorrow. This has been the episode 103 of the Writers, Actors, Directors podcast. I hope everybody has a beautiful, wonderful, and fantastic week. And until we meet again, have a brilliant night.